I want to jump into this space right now and talk about the corruption within the system and why the system stays intact. It's a really simple equation. If we stopped using the banking system, it would crumble. If we stopped sending our kids to school, then the schools would cease to exist. The schools will do their very best to control your minds and manipulate you and put you into fear. But we are intelligent, we are strong, we are powerful, we are galactic in nature. So I want to jump into this space right now and just talk about children, talk about homeschooling, talk about the corruption within the system and why the system stays intact. It's a really simple equation. If you keep using the system, then the system has a place. If you keep using the banking system, if you keep going to all those large supermarkets that are selling food that isn't really food, then they're going to keep producing that food that isn't really food, and the banking system's going to have a place. If we stopped using the banking system, it would crumble. If we stopped going to these supermarkets, they'd go out of business. If we stopped sending our kids to school, then the schools would cease to exist because there would be no kids going there, so there'd be no function for them to perform. Now what happens is the schools will do their very best to put you into fear. The local councils will do their very best to put you into fear. The government will do their very best to control your minds and manipulate you and put you into fear. My children, they went to school in England for the first few years of their life, and then we moved to New Zealand. And when we went to New Zealand, the school systems were quite different. There was a lot of outdoor activity. They were in creation mode most of the time. And so they really enjoyed going, and I was quite happy to send them there. We ended up moving back to England in 2013, I think it was, and I put my kids into school in England, and they lasted maybe 6 months. Bringing them back into a primary and a secondary school in the UK, it was like putting them into a prison. I was down the school every day, every other day. Josh won't listen. We've told Josh that he's got to go into detention, but he won't go, he won't come. He's just defying everything that we've told him. We're telling Josh about this bit of education and that bit of education, and he's telling us that it's not true, that it's false, that he's not going to listen. And so the teachers would be putting him into detention to try and punish him, but he wouldn't go to the punishment. And they couldn't force him, he would just walk away. And so I was down the school every day, every other day, saying, if you want the kids to listen, you've got to treat them with respect. You've got to treat them as an equal. You can't boss the kids around, and if you're going to continue to feed the children with bullshit information, and the children know that the information is bullshit, of course they're going to pull you on your own cards. They're not going to accept the cards that you're dealing to them when they know that it's a load of rubbish. I was end up going down the school, and the teachers would often end up in tears because I would tell them the truth. I would tell them about the indoctrination. I would tell them about the corruption. And I would tell them that what they're doing is not great for the children. And quite often the teachers would break down. And a lot of the teachers that I spoke to, they actually knew deep in their heart that what I was sharing with them was true. But they were scared that if they weren't teaching, they'd have no job, they'd have no money, they couldn't support themselves. They were scared that if they brought some of their own ideas into the school teaching environment, that they would get punished and lose their job. Again, going into fear, having no money. So the teachers are just as much corrupted as the children, and it's a cyclical system. And so what we've got to do as parents is realize that putting our children into that system that is indoctrinating them is doing them no good. There is nothing good that comes from going to school. I mean, a lot of parents will turn around and say, well, when the children go to school, they get to socialize. Yeah, I get that. The children do get to socialize when they go to school. But there are so many homeschooling groups now, and there are so many things that children can do outside of the school environment to connect with other children. You don't need to send them to school. Now, what happened to me when I pulled my children out of school, I was getting letters come through the post. If you don't send your kids to school, then we're going to fine you £1,000. If you don't send your kids to school, then you could be looking at 6 months imprisonment. I just used to rip the letters up and burn them and throw them away. Remember, when you go to court, it's an invitation, and it's not a criminal case. It's a civil matter. And for a civil matter to hold up, there has to be a contractual agreement. And I never entered into a contract with the school, with the government, to send my children to these prisons. No fucking way. You've got to understand the game that you're playing. You've got to understand the difference between criminal and civil. You've got to understand like where you stand as a human being. You know, you can be a person with a birth certificate and you can be property of the United Kingdom Corporation or the Corporation of the United States of America or whatever country you live in. You can be a name and a number and be owned, or you can step outside of that enslavement and take control as a sovereign being. They're your choices. And as a sovereign parent, my truth is, why would I want to put my children into a system that is not allowing them to be sovereign? Now, you could look at this a different way. You could say, well, listen, I'm going to put my children into the schooling system just to disrupt things, you know, and that's what my son was doing. He was a disruptor. He was causing chaos for the schools. And on one hand, he was waking the teachers up. But do I really want to use my son as like a pawn in the game for that? No, I'd rather set my son free to go out into the world and do whatever he wants to do. I'd rather set my daughter free to go out into the world and do whatever she wants to do. And so that's what my children did. They were homeschooled and they were shown a way of becoming free and doing whatever they wanted and figuring it out themselves, learning their own lessons. Sometimes it was easy, sometimes it was harsh, but ultimately they got to where they needed to get to. They found their way back to love, back to their heart, back to strength, back to courage, back to consistency, back to discipline, back to focus, back to expansion, back to justice. And now they know how to play this human game and they don't live in fear. I remember years ago, I think my daughter was 12. She was out of school then, and I got arrested outside my house. I'd just come back from a Mind, Body, Spirit festival in London, and it was when we were just starting Star Magic. So this is yonks ago, man. This is like 8 years ago. And I'd come back and got pulled over by the police. My wife was driving the car, my ex-wife now, but my wife at the time. And they just kind of went into it on these bullshit things. And me as a sovereign being, I'm not going to put up with that. So I stood my ground and I sat in the car. One of the policemen pushed me. And then what happened is the other policeman, he kind of pushed me from the other side. I actually had loads of things in my arms. And I got out of the car and I was still holding on. It was some stuff that I'd had from the exhibition that we went to at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. One of the police grabbed my arm. I dropped the stuff, and I'm very good with my body mechanics. You know, I've done martial arts for years. So what I did is I dropped the weight into my right knee and I turned my right shoulder, and the policeman flew through the air and landed on his knees. He ended up scraping all his knees, scraping up his elbow. The guy on the other side stopped and they called backup, and the riot van came, and it was a whole palaver. Anyway, my daughter was filming the whole thing. They ended up cuffing me. They took me in the police van. They ended up keeping me overnight. It was a whole thing. But my daughter had the phone of the evidence. Now, when I got arrested, my daughter was outside the house. My ex-wife and my son Josh, they were in the house, and I told them to lock the door and don't open it. And Alea stayed out with me. She was only 12. Anyway, all I was thinking when I got arrested was, don't give them the phone. Don't give them the phone. So I think they gave me my phone call at about 2 a.m. First person that I called was Alea. And I said, did you give them the phone? She said, Dad, I kept the phone. They were pressuring her, saying, if you don't give us the phone, we're going to arrest you. If you don't give us the phone, this, that. She turned around and said, listen, there's no way you can arrest me. I've done nothing wrong. I've not committed any type of offense. It's not illegal to to film anyone in a public arena. So she knew the script, right? So there's nothing they could do. And the house opposite ours, because where our house was, we were around the side, there was no cameras, but the house opposite had cameras. So like everything was kind of caught on camera. So even if they'd have tried to take the phone off a layer and smash it, they would have been caught by the neighbor's cameras, and they knew that. So there was nothing they could do. When you train your children, when you share with your children how to handle themselves in this 3D reality, nothing can fuck with them. And we want to train our children to be unfuckwithable. We as humans, as adult humans, we want to be in that space of unfuckwithability. So the government can't mess with us, so the police can't mess with us, so no one can mess with us. And what we do is we stay in our heart, we stay courageous, we stay focused on our mission. And then all of these things that happen in our space around us, whether it's, you know, to the family, to the children, to us as adults, it doesn't matter. They're all just temptations. They're all just opportunities to lower our frequency and engage in some kind of 3D battle that is completely unnecessary. The only way that we're going to change this world is by focusing on what we want and not what we don't want. So we have to focus on perfect health. We have to focus on a new money system. We have to focus on energy exchange. We have to focus on sovereignty, freedom, trust, justice. And if we stay focused on that, that is what we're going to create. But if we get pulled down into the deeper, darker frameworks of existence, poverty, ill health, all these different diseases around the planet, the fucking CV vaccine, all of these things that they're just trying to pump into our environment. Okay, they're all opportunities to contract with us, to bring us into a lower vibrational space. But we are intelligent, we are strong, we are powerful, we are galactic in nature. We've got ancient wisdom and ancient knowledge locked inside our cellular structure, inside our DNA, inside our computer code, and it's waiting to be unleashed. We have planets, stars, suns, moons, supersonic firepower inside every cell in our body. We've got universes, galaxies, multiverses. We're so powerful, but they want us to think and believe that we're these measly little humans. When you transcend belief systems and you come to that space of knowing, nothing can mess with you. So we have to step into that framework of reality, and then we've got to share that information with our children, and we've got to train them to be supersonic, never to be fucked with again. This is a choice that you've got to make, and this is a choice that I've got to make. As adults, we've got to decide, where do we want to be in this human reality? Do we want to get beaten up, or do we want to thrive? Because this planet was built by the Force, and the Force can be used for dark, and the Force can be used for light. Ultimately, the Force is the Force. What you decide to do with that Force as a human is entirely up to you, and nobody can change that. All I can do, or anyone else can do, is inspire you to be your greatest version by being a role model myself. And maybe some of that will rub off on you, maybe it won't, but at least I'm planting the seeds. And at some point down your timeline, you're gonna reflect back to this video. Whether you do that consciously or unconsciously, that doesn't matter. I know that you're gonna reflect back on this video, because these words are truth. They may not be your truth at the moment, but they are truth. And there is only one truth. So ultimately, at some point, that truth is gonna sink in. So you can get on board with the truth now, or you can get on board with the truth later. Ultimately, there's only one path, and if you don't take that path, you're going to end up in a whole world of despair, chaos, and mayhem. You're going to get beaten up by the system, pulled into the system, and your spaceship is going to get derailed. That magnetic levitation, that Merkaba field that can help you travel anywhere and everywhere in the whole multiverse, is going to get unplugged, and you'll be stuck right here in this physical space, being picked apart by the vultures. It's a choice, beautiful soul. We're galactic, we're powerful, we're supersonic. And what's really important is that we have a little bit of fun on our journey. We shouldn't take it too seriously. We take it far too seriously. Why not kick back a little bit, have a little bit of fun, breathe into your body, live from your heart space, and realize you haven't actually got a choice. You came to planet Earth on a mission. You didn't come here to play small. You came here to showcase your skills and your abilities and wake the human race up. You came here to be a trailblazer. You came here to set the standards ultra high and to reach them and keep expanding them, because there's always another level, man. So get with the plan, get with the mission, get with the program. Have fun, laugh, be crazy, and love this human journey, man. Wherever you are on the planet, go out and love your sisters and brothers fiercely and ferociously. Hug them tightly, and never, ever, ever, ever be the first to let go. It's the golden rule of hugging. You know that. Unleash that ancient knowledge, unleash that ancient wisdom by going into deep meditation, and know that your body is a musical instrument. Play at the right frequencies and watch it evolve and expand, and allow your superhuman faculties to rise to the surface and be dominant in this human environment. You got that little pineal gland in the center of your brain, full of calcite crystals, an antenna, waiting to decode the cosmic fabric, that universal intelligence, to connect with your extraterrestrial family. Do it, beautiful soul. Don't hang around. Just go for it. Carpe diem. Seize the day. Remember to check out our website, starmagichealing.org. We got some of the best ascension tools on planet Earth. Hundreds of guided meditations, light language transmissions, cosmic yoga videos, high frequency nutrition. We've got mystery school teachings on a whole variety of different subjects. Everything fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional, esoteric, past lives, future lives, energy healing, you name it. If you want to decode the universe, go and check out those mystery school teachings. We meet every Monday, Wednesday, and second Sunday online for high frequency transmissions, DNA activations, meditations, galactic journeys. So join us, your family, your tribe, your sisters and brothers. Let's do this, beautiful soul. All of that is free right now for 7 days over at starmagichealing.org. I'll see you soon. One love, one heart, one human family. Peace out, beautiful soul.